Think back to the first time you heard someone talk about money at home. Maybe it was a fight behind a closed door. Maybe it was a parent sighing at a bill. Maybe it was a sentence said so casually it didn't even feel like a lesson. Money doesn't grow on trees. We're not those kind of people. Rich people are just lucky. You didn't choose those sentences. You were a child. You just absorbed them. And somewhere along the way, they became the walls of your financial life. Most people, when their finances aren't moving, look for a better strategy, a better budget, a better plan, as if the problem is information. But you've had information. You've had the plan more than once. So if the plan isn't the problem, what is running the show? Florence Scovel Shinn wrote about this in 1925. She called it your invisible supply. Not money in the bank, but the story in the subconscious that decides how much you'll allow yourself to have. That story was written for you before you were old enough to argue with it, by the people around you, by what you watched, what you heard, what was never said but always felt. Neville Goddard called it the state, the version of yourself you unconsciously identify with, not who you want to be, who you believe you are. And here's the thing, your finances will never outgrow that identity. This is why people win the lottery and lose it all within years. This is why someone gets a raise and somehow ends up with the same amount of stress. The outside changed, the inside didn't. So life found its way back to familiar. But here's what that also means. The story isn't permanent. It was installed, which means it can be rewritten. Not with willpower, not with hustle, with something quieter than that. Before you can change your money situation, you need to know what story you're currently living from. Not the one you tell people, the one that shows up in your decisions, in what you avoid, in what you talk yourself out of. So here's what I want you to do. Write down 3 sentences you heard about money growing up. They don't have to be exact, just the feeling of them, the shape. Then, underneath each one, write, is this mine, or did I just inherit it? That question alone, asked honestly, begins to create space between you and the story you've been living as if it were fact. That space is where everything changes. If that speaks to you, this is what this channel does. We take the deepest knowledge out there, the spiritual, the psychological, the timeless, and we make it work in your actual life. Not as concepts, as shifts you can feel. The next video is where we start. I'll see you there.